Hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Mad and it is April, and if you read fantasy, you might already know that that means that the R Fantasy subreddit has released their yearly bingo board. They always do it in April. I'm not super sure why, but I am so excited to make my TBR, and I'm going to be giving recommendations for each prompt as well. I love doing this bingo board because I think it's such a good way to diversify your fantasy, maybe read things that you wouldn't normally have read. And also, if you can't tell, we are working against the sun right now, so hopefully I can do most of this while the sun is still kind of out. Here's the bingo board. We'll talk about all the squares, and I will explain a few different things. First of all, there is a regular board, and then there's a hard mode, which is just like a caveat to each square. And then there's also hero mode. That just means you review the book. I pretty much always do that anyway, but I also have never been chill a day in my life, so obviously I will be going for a blackout mode on both hero and hard. So that's what I'm picking books for, but I will be talking about books that don't necessarily fit hard mode for all the squares. For the knight and paladin square, that just means that there needs to be a knight or a paladin character, and then hard mode is that there needs to be some kind of oath. Some books that would count for this is any book in the Legendborn series by Tracy Deonn. This is the Legendborn cycle. It is an Arthurian retelling. It is technically YA, but I love it. It does read YA, but it's just so good. I would definitely recommend it. And then also What Moves the Dead, there is a knight character. They have an oath. It would count for hard mode, as would Legendborn. And this is super short, so if you're looking for something short or something horror adjacent, absolutely would recommend it. And then another T. Kingfisher that I'm assuming counts for this is, I think it's called Paladin's Grace. It's a whole series that T. Kingfisher is writing, and I'm pretty sure they're full-length books. Haven't gotten to it yet, but I think that it would at least count for normal mode. And then one book that I saw being tossed in the recommendations, and I will link where you can find more recommendations, more about the bingo board in the description below, but that is The Bright Sword by Lev Grossman. I don't necessarily know if there's an oath in this at all, so I'm not picking this for the square. I will be picking Oathbound because I have not finished that yet. I'm about 25% of the way in and I'm loving it. This will be my pick, but I do think that this would work as well. Next square I think is going to be quite hard, especially for hard mode. I don't necessarily have a hard mode one picked out yet, but it is less than 1,000 ratings, and hard mode is published more than 5 years ago. For the Five Penalties trilogy by Marina Lostletter, which is just so underrated as a whole, I'm pretty sure book 2 and also book 3 count for easy mode because I don't think they have over 1,000 ratings. And one of the caveats, or in the spirit of the square, is you can't pick books that haven't been released yet. So like if you have access to ARCs, that does not count, or books that were just released. They have to be solidly at under 1,000 ratings. The book that I will be picking up was published in 2024, and Carrie, I will link her TikTok, has bullied me into reading it very lovingly. And it's Sargassa by Sophie Burnham. I'm pretty sure that there's some kind of trans or queer rep in it as well. And actually, Daw did send this to me, but I will be giving my actual real review. I have never lied. I have definitely complained about books that have been sent to me. This is about Sayla. She has to fulfill the leadership of her birthright much earlier than she's expected, and obviously things go wrong because we have a book. But I do think that she's stunning, and I'm excited to have a solid excuse to finally get to it. All right, for square 3, it is a book that was written in the 80s, and hard mode is written by an author of color. So if you don't care about hard mode, Stephen King has a slew of books that were written in the 80s. But if you do care about hard mode, I believe that Octavia E. Butler, who wrote Parable of the Sower, and Toni Morrison, who has written a lot of different books, both would count for this square. I think that I'm going to be picking up an Octavia E. Butler, though I don't know which yet. If the second book in the Earthseed duology counts, as in it was published in the 80s, I'll be picking that up. Otherwise, I'll be finding something else that is in her repertoire. Number 4 is called High Fashion, and I think that this is a really unique square. It basically has to revolve around fashion, or the main character has to be making some kind of fashion. And the hard mode is that the main character has to be making some kind of like fibers or fashion. I guess I don't read a whole lot of like fiber art fantasy, but one that I think would count is The Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Carrick. I'm not sure that it would count for hard mode, but it would definitely count for normal mode. And according to the comment section, the Live Ship Traders by Robin Hobb would count. I really want to get to all of the Realm of the Elderlings books, and hopefully this will just like light a fire under my ass, because I said I was going to start it in January. I still haven't started the Realm of the Elderlings. I believe the Live Ship Traders is the second trilogy in the whole series, so I need to get to the first 3 books before I can get to the book for this square. So hopefully I do that. Square 5 is down with the system, so they have to be dismantling some kind of system, but hard mode is that it is not a political or governmental system. I think that that is super hard. Obviously, if you don't care about hard mode, pretty much any YA dystopian book would count for this. Thinking like The Hunger Games, Divergent. You want something adult, Blood Over Brighthaven by Emma Wong would totally count. I think a couple that could be argued for hard mode would maybe be Ring Shout by P. Jelly Clark or Hell Followed With Us by Andrew Joseph White. They're not necessarily like political systems that are being taken down, especially this one. I relied really heavily on the comment section for most of my picks because obviously if I haven't read it yet, it's hard to know what books sometimes fit into these. But one that was recommended for hard mode that I want to read this year is The Library at Mount Char by Scott Hawkins. I've heard really good things about this. I've heard it's quite bleak and quite odd, and that's absolutely what I am into in terms of books. Okay, we are on to row 2 now. The first square in row 2 is impossible places, so places that kind of defy physics. The 3 that I think count are The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, which is kind of like magical realism hopecore, and then another one that's magical realism hopecore are When We Were Real by Daryl Gregory. This is kind of like a sightseeing road trip after everything has been turned into a simulation, and all of the sights that they see are very odd and would definitely count. Also, The Three-Body Problem by Shishin Liu. The video game I do think defies physics. They are technically in a video game, but I would count it, so I'm okay with you counting it. And then a couple that were recommended for this one being Piranesi by Susanna Clark. I do think that I may count this for a different square, but it would work for hard mode. Hard mode being that they are in this sort of liminal space for over half of the book. Another one that I think would count that I have not read yet that I want to read but will probably put on a different square is Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinneman. This one everyone seems to be reading right now. I'm very excited to get to it. I think it's going to be very fun. However, I'm putting it on a different square. One that I'm going to pick that is on my physical TBR is House of Leaves by Matt Z. Danielewski. I think it's Matt Z. Danielewski. This is a very odd book. You kind of have to puzzle it together. I'm very nervous about reading it, and that's why I haven't actually gotten to it yet. But I hope that this fall is my time. I think fall is the perfect time to read it because it's also a bit of a haunted house story. Square 7 is a book that is told in parts, and hard mode is that it is told in at least 4 parts. A couple of my recommendations are When the Moon Hits Your Eye by John Scalzi. The parts for this one are parts of the lunar cycle because the moon has turned to cheese, so they are taking time in terms of the lunar cycle. To Be Taught If Fortunate by Becky Chambers. I believe that's told in years that they've been on the ship. The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett is told in parts, and I believe that this one would count for hard mode, as well as When the Moon Hits Your Eye. And then another one that I would like to read, but I don't believe that it counts for hard mode, is The Stars Undying. It doesn't have great recommendations or ratings on Goodreads, but a few people that I really trust as far as their ratings go have loved it, so I will be getting to that at some point. But the book that I'm picking for this is Middle Game by Shannon McGuire. I got all of that trilogy this year because Shannon visited my local indie bookstore and I got a few books signed, including that whole trilogy, despite not having read it yet, so I think I should at least get to the first book. I'm not sure totally what it's about, and I think that I just want to go in blind. Number 9 is the last book in the series, and hard mode is that the series has to be at least 4 books long. There are so many books that this would fulfill, and this is one of the easiest ones I think there is to find, but a few of the recommendations that I have are like bouncing around in my head are the last book in the Dandelion Dynasty series by Ken Liu, and then the last book in the Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater, the last book in the Dark Tower series by Stephen King, or the last book in The Faithful and the Fallen by John Gwynne. I'm actually on the last book in a couple series that are at least 4 books long. Ideally, in a perfect world, I would be reading Electo by Tamsin Muir for this one, but as we still, unfortunately, do not have a release date for Electo, I will be picking up Goldfinch by Raven Kennedy. This is the last book in the Plated Prisoner series, which is kind of like a dark romantasy. You can see them right here. I believe it's the 6th book in the series, and I just happened to be on the last one. So that'll be perfect for the square, and I will also finish up a series, which I need to do. I'm in the middle of far too many series. Square 10 is book club pick, and it's the subreddit book club. They have a few different ones, and hard mode is that it has to be a book picked in the year of the bingo board. So obviously none of them are out yet, so I haven't been able to pick. But if you're just doing normal mode and you want a couple recommendations from me of books that have already been picked, I would say Chain Gang All-Stars by Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah. This is commentary on the prison system. It's a gladiator-style fighting ring that prisoners are put in for a chance of freedom. It's super bleak, but I liked it a lot. Middle from Heaven is a standalone fantasy. It's chock full of lesbians and biker gangs, and this is one of those books that I am just on a campaign for more people to read. I think that it's excellent, and I think that you should read it, especially if you like the Locked Tomb series. This will be for you, I promise. Please read it. The Adventures of Mina El-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty. This was so incredible. It is a pirate fantasy. It has an older FMC, and it's about found family, but the family has already been found years ago, and they're now just coming back to each other. And it's so good. I love Shannon Chakraborty's writing, and we are finally getting book 2 this fall, so it's a great time to get into it. Another book that I feel like I'm on a campaign for, and I'm just constantly recommending because I need more people to read it, is Someone You Can Build a Nest In by John Wiswell. This is a horror / romantasy, and we follow Sheshin. She's this eldritch horror that eats people in order to maintain her shape, and she accidentally, to her horror, falls in love with a human woman. It's so cute and so disgusting. And I don't know what I'm going to be picking up yet, because I would like to do hard mode in theory, and I need to wait for more book club picks to be announced. Square 11 is parent protagonist, and hard mode is that the child is a major character in the story. Again, The Adventures of Mina El-Sarafi would fit for this, at least normal mode, maybe not hard mode. Also, I would argue the 5th season would count for normal mode, but books later in the series would count for hard mode. And then one that I would like to read this year that was on the list for normal mode is Godkiller by Hannah Keener, but I will personally be picking up The Sword of Kaigan by Emma Wong, and this does count for hard mode. I'm very nervous to pick this one up, but it's been on my TBR for too long, and I just need to get to it. Square 12 is epistolary, and that means that it is told with journal entries or letters, that kind of thing, and hard mode is that it is told entirely in an epistolary way. 2 classics that would count for this are Frankenstein and Dracula, and I will personally be picking up Frankenstein for this one, I think. I also want to pick up Dracula this year too, so really interchangeable for me. One that doesn't fit hard mode, but I would recommend because I love it so much, is This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El-Motar and Max Gladstone. It's one of my favorites of all time. And allegedly, according to the subreddit, Pure Nessie would also work for hard mode for this. One that would work for normal mode that I love was Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. Some of this is told through journal entries, and it is one of the best historical horrors I have ever read. I love Stephen Graham Jones though, so maybe I'm biased. Square 13 is published in 2025, and hard mode is that it is also a debut novel. I will personally be picking up A Song of Legends Lost by M.H. Agindi. I am super excited for this. It comes out June 3rd. I was lucky enough to get the arc from Saga. It's blurbed by Tasha Suri and Andrea Stewart, which just leads me to believe that this is going to be incredible. The author seemed very genuine on Instagram, and it sounds like it's an epic fantasy, and I'm just so in the mood for epic fantasy lately. I'm very excited to get to it. I also believe that it's the Illumicrate pick for May, so if you are an Illumicrate subscriber, this is a very easy pick for you. And then obviously, if you're just doing normal mode, there are probably hundreds of books being published in 2025. A few that I'm incredibly looking forward to that are coming out in 2025 are Bury Our Bones in Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab, Catabasis by R.F. Kuang, Son of the Morning by Akwaeke Emezi, Among the Burning Flowers by Samantha Shannon, which is another prequel to Priory of the Orange Tree, and The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. I have not read One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns yet, but I'm also working on that. A few books that I have personally read and loved that are publishing in 2025 are The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson. This one was so much fun. I think that you should find a square to put this in because I loved it. You should definitely read it. And then Gifted and Talented by Olivia Blake was also great. I have not read anything by Olivia Blake before this, but now I can't wait to pick up her entire backlist because it was so much fun. I loved the writing style, and it had me both crying and laughing out loud, sometimes at the same time. Down in the Sea of Angels by Can Wong is both a futuristic and historical magical realism sci-fi situation, and I really liked it. And then Overgrowth by Mira Grant is like a sci-fi botanist horror situation, and it was so much fun, and I think that one comes out in May. A couple debuts that I'm very much looking forward to are Angie Kills a King by Evan Lee Kim, and if you're an audiobook girly, this one is narrated by Moira Quirk, and I would do anything for Moira Quirk. I love her narration. I love audiobooks that I read by her, so it's something I'm very much looking forward to. Also, this is a YA horror fantasy, When Devils Sing by Jan Kaur. I'm so sorry if that is not how you pronounce your name. I will look it up once I can actually give reviews for this, but it is being compared to The Raven Cycle, which is very good news. Number 14 is that it's written by a person of color, and hard mode is that it's a horror book. This does not feel that hard for me. I've read so many. I have so many on my TBR. We have a lot going on here. So just a few books that I would recommend that are fantasy, so not for hard mode, but would recommend are The Legendborn Cycle, are Blood Trials by N.E. Davenport, Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi, The Dandelion Dynasty by Ken Liu. I've only read the first book, but I would recommend it so far. N.K. Jemisin, as a whole, I read a couple series by her, hoping to read more of her backlist this year. Sorrowland by River Solomon, and also Immortal Dark by Tikas Girma. If you like Spike and Buffy, you need to read this book. So a couple authors that you could read for this square for hard mode are Stephen Graham Jones, Sylvia Moreno Garcia, P. Jelly Clark. If you want hard mode and it to be horror, then Ring Shout is a great one. The Reformatory by Tana Nareeb Due is a historical horror. I really enjoyed Jackal by Aaron E. Adams. I was just going to pick up another Stephen Graham Jones. I want to read all of his backlist, and he has a ton that I still haven't read yet, but I did not think that that was challenging enough for me. So the book that I've been talking about wanting to read for a while is This Cursed House by Del Santine. It is the only book written by a Black author, let alone a female Black author, that made it on the Goodreads Choice Awards list for horror last year, so I think that I need to read it. Number 15 is small press or self-published. And then the hard mode is either under 100 ratings, which could be quite difficult, or a person of color has written it. So one book that I have not gotten to that I own is The Jovian Madrigals by Yannicka de Beer. This was sent to me by the author. She is so sweet, and I have not gotten to it yet, so I may be picking that one up or Body After Body. One of those two are one of the ones that I'm going to be picking up this year for the hard mode. Thinking about a self-published author, I would definitely recommend David Sodergren. I loved The Har last year. So good. Or if you're looking for a smaller / indie pub, then I cannot recommend Angry Robot Books enough. I have worked with them a lot in the past. I like a lot of the books that they publish, and Down in the Sea of Angels, I believe, would count for both of these. Number 16 is Biopunk, hard mode being no electricity-based tech. I'm not super sure what this means, but I will read to you books that were on the list in the comments that people seem to unanimously agree on. The Tainted Cup, which I did not love, but lots of people do, and I recommend all of the time, by Robert Jackson Bennett. Vicious by V.E. Schwab, which is kind of like a superhero, the good guys aren't good and the bad guys are also not good type of story. Love that one. It's a duology. Actually, it's a trilogy, but in theory, it's a duology. The third book is being published 10 years later, so you'll be okay. And Never Let Me Go by Kashu Ishiguro, I believe, which I will be reading this year, but I don't believe that it counts for hard mode. One that I saw being recommended for hard mode that I keep saying that I'm going to read for a variety of things. It's been on so many TBRs for me, but I don't own it, so it's never been truly prioritized, is Dawn Hounds by Sasha Stronach. I believe this is a completed duology, and the comp is The Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse and Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir, so I am beyond excited for it. Number 17 is Elves and Dwarves, so there have to be elves and or dwarves in the book. And then the hard mode is that they have to be a main character. So I'm recommending you Feybound, and then I will be reading Cursebound, because that is book 2. And I thought it was just so much fun. It's about 2 elven sisters who get trapped in the Fey realm, and it's nothing special, but for some reason I just had such a good time with it. So I'm very much looking forward to book 2. So 18 is LGBTQIA main character. Super easy. Happens more often than not for me, to be honest. But hard mode is that either the main character has to be disabled or is a person of color in this world. A few that I've enjoyed that don't fit hard mode are A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers, The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri, or Iron Widow by Jiren J. Zhao. Few that fit hard mode are A Memory Called Empire by Arcady Martine, Found Your Side by Robert Jackson Bennett, and Metal from Heaven by August Clark. All of those main characters are both queer and have some kind of disability, I believe. I don't think that any of them are people of color. And the book that I saw going around for hard mode is A Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez. I'm so unbelievably excited for this book. I have been putting it off for too long, and this year is my year for this book. Number 9 is 5 short stories, and obviously they have to be like fantasy or sci-fi, that kind of thing. And then the hard mode is just an entire anthology. This feels pretty easy to me. I'm not a big anthology girl, but I do have quite a few, especially horror ones, and I think that I'll be reading Goblin by Josh Malerman or something by Marianne Enriquez, one of those 2 things. And then I don't really have any recommendations for you because I don't read a whole lot of them. The one that I can think of is by Bora Chung, and it's called Your Utopia. This is very much Black Mirror vibes. I do think that it would fit into sci-fi and would count as like a sci-fi fantasy type of short story collection. Number 20, but a few recommendations are A Memory Called Empire by Arcady Martine, To Shape a Dragon's Breath by Monko Blackgoose, Babel by R.F. Kuang, and The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. And then I'm just going to be reading the second book in the Memory Called Empire duology, and I believe it's called A Desolation Called Peace. It is very much up to you. It is picking a square from an old bingo board, and for hard mode, it's just the hard mode of that square. I believe they didn't start doing hard mode until 2017, but there's still a lot of years for you to choose from. So the bingo square that I'm picking up this year is to read the first book in a series, and the hard mode is that series has to be more than 4 books long, or 4 books or more. So I will be picking up Malice by John Gwynne, which is the first book in the Faithful and the Fallen series. I already talked about a bunch of books that have more than 4 books in them. Take those with what you will, or pick a different square from a past bingo board. Number 22 is cozy sci-fi or fantasy, which is really not in the realm of my comfort at all, and hard mode is a new to me author, which is even more stressful. A few authors that I would recommend for this are Becky Chambers, T. Kingfisher, or Martha Wells. I think that the Murderbot Diaries are very cozy to me. I don't know what I'll be picking up for this one yet, to be honest. I think that there's a few arcs that I could pick from to bump up my NetGalley score that I just have automatic approval for, so that's probably what I'm going to be picking up, because cozy sci-fi and fantasy is just not for me for the most part. I do better with cozy sci-fi, but cozy fantasy is just not for me. 23, I think, is a super fun one, and that's a generic title, so it has to include Blood, Bone, Broken, Court, Dark, Shadow, Song, Sword, or Throne in the title. And then hard mode is 2 or more of those words, or 1 of those words, and an animal, a color, or a number. So I'm recommending you a second book in a series, and that's The Throne of Broken Gods by Amber V. Nicole, if you would like to do hard mode. This is very easy to figure out for easy mode, so I don't think I'm going to give you recommendations on that. I am so sorry. But I will be picking up One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. Finally, probably not till the fall though, because I think that that book deserves to be read in the fall. It is just the perfect time for it. It's gothic and it's gloomy, and that's just when I want to read it. I think 24 is really, really fun, and it's not a book, so it's a video game, it's a movie, it's a TV show. And then the hard mode is that you have to post a review somewhere. So I was thinking about this, and I think it's gonna be pretty easy to do a movie or TV show, so I'm gonna pick a video game. One that I would recommend is the Zelda franchise. I love that franchise. But a video game that I haven't picked up but have been wanting to is Cult of the Lamb. I think it's so cute and would count for this square. And finally, we have pirates, and hard mode is not seafaring pirates. Luckily, someone that I'm mutuals with on TikTok just recently talked about a Sky Pirate book, and that's what I'll be picking up. But in the meantime, hard mode in the comment section of this would be the Murderbot Diaries if you're looking for non-seafaring pirates. But if you just want to do regular mode, a couple that I have read and liked well enough are The Adventures of Mina El-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty, Pinquiggle's Folly by R.A. Salvatore, and Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson, if you're a Brandon Sanderson girly and have not read that one yet. I will be picking up, though, is Cello's Gate, and these are skyfaring pirates, and it's a relatively new, I think, indie published book, and the person that was talking about it also liked it and would recommend it, so I am very excited about it. Okay, that is it. That is all. We made it with just a little bit of sunlight left. Thank you so much for being here. Let me know if you've done this bingo board before or if you're doing it for the first time this year, and some books, some suggestions. If you've read any of the books that I've talked about and liked them, let me know what's going on in your brain. And if you have made it this far, leave me either a pirate or an instrument emoji for Cello's Gate, and I will see you next time. Bye!